Our lives have changed dramatically. It's kind of like we would have stepped on a giant roller coaster about 5 years ago and never got. Oh my God.
What started as just another day in the Louisiana swamps turned into a nightmare that would shake the very foundation of reality TV's most beloved gator hunter. Troy Landry, the man millions know as the king of the swamp, has faced heartbreak after heartbreak in recent years. From family tragedies that brought him to his knees, to a cancer diagnosis that threatened everything he holds dear, to legal troubles that shocked his fans around the world. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. Today, we're going to tell you the complete story of Troy Landry's recent struggles. The truth about what's been happening behind the cameras will leave you speechless. This isn't just about a TV star facing hard times. This is about a man who has dedicated his entire life to the swamps of Louisiana, only to watch everything he's built come crashing down around him. So grab a seat and prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear will change how you see the king of the swamp forever. Troy Landry wasn't born to be famous. He was born to be a swamp man. On a hot summer day in June 1960, in the small town of Pierre Park, Louisiana, Troy came into this world as the latest in a long line of gator hunters. His family had been working the dangerous waters of the Atchafalaya Basin for 5 generations. This wasn't some hobby or weekend adventure. This was survival. The swamps of Louisiana are not kind to the weak. The Atchafalaya Basin covers over 1 million acres of water, cypress trees, and deadly wildlife. Growing up in this world meant learning to respect nature's power from the very first day. Troy's parents, Duffy and Myrtle Landry, were respected leaders in their community. They knew that raising a child in the swamp meant teaching him to be tough, smart, and careful all at the same time. But Troy faced challenges that most kids never have to think about. He was born with serious hearing problems. By the time he became an adult, he was completely deaf in his right ear and could only hear about 20% with his left ear. In a place where hearing the splash of an alligator or the crack of a branch could mean the difference between life and death, this should have been the end of his swamp career before it even started. Instead, Troy turned his disability into his greatest strength. He learned to feel vibrations through the water. He trained his eyes to catch the smallest movement in the brush. He became so good at reading the swamp that other hunters would seek him out for advice. What could have destroyed his dreams actually made him one of the best hunters Louisiana had ever seen. When Troy was just 12 years old, his father Duffy took him on his first real hunting trip. This wasn't a fun family outing. This was serious business training. Troy learned how to set traps, how to read animal tracks, and most importantly, how to respect the deadly alligators that ruled the swamp. By the time he was a teenager, people in Pierre Park were already talking about young Troy Landry as someone special. The community where Troy grew up was tight-knit and traditional. Everyone knew everyone, and families helped each other through good times and bad. The Cajun culture was still strong in those days. People spoke French at home, cooked traditional foods, and passed down stories that had been told for generations. Troy absorbed all of this like a sponge. He learned that being a man meant taking care of your family, respecting your elders, and never giving up no matter how hard things got. As Troy grew older, he didn't just focus on gator hunting. He knew that the 30-day alligator season only lasted for 1 month each year, so he needed other ways to make money. He got into the crawfish business, and it didn't take long for him to become one of the biggest crawfish dealers in all of Louisiana. During crawfish season, which runs from late November through early summer, Troy's team would process thousands of pounds of crawfish every single week. Troy also opened a gas station that he named after his father. The Duffy Shell Station became more than just a place to buy fuel. It turned into a gathering spot where locals and tourists could come to hear stories about the swamp. The walls were covered with pictures showing the history of the Landry family and their legendary gator hunts. Even today, fans of swamp people make special trips to visit the station and feel connected to the authentic Cajun lifestyle. In 1981, Troy's life changed forever when he married a schoolteacher named Bernita. Their wedding was small and simple, held right there in the Louisiana bayou with just close friends and family. But what started that day became a partnership that would last for over 40 years. Bernita wasn't just Troy's wife. She became his business partner, his biggest supporter, and the mother of his children. The early years of their marriage were tough. Money was always tight, and they lived in a small trailer on just 3 acres of land in Pierre Park. For more than 30 years, that little trailer was home. It wasn't fancy, but it was filled with love. Troy and Bernita raised their sons Jacob and Chase in that tiny space. Troy also became a stepfather to Bernita's son Brandon, treating him like his own blood from day one. Every piece of cypress wood that Troy cut from the swamp was carefully stored, waiting for the day when they could afford to build their dream home. That day finally came in 2011, just before Christmas. Troy and Bernita moved into a beautiful wooden house that Troy had built with his own hands. Every board in that house came from the swamps where he worked. The walls and ceilings were made of pine, fitted together perfectly. Troy even built the 12-foot cypress table where the family eats their meals. The house became a monument to years of hard work and sacrifice. The giant family room was decorated with deer antlers and an 11-foot alligator head. Every room held family memories, old photographs, and keepsakes that told the story of the Landry family's journey, from that small trailer to their dream home. Troy made sure his sons learned everything he knew about the swamp. From the moment Jacob and Chase could hold a fishing pole, they were out on the water with their father. He taught them how to set bait, how to track gators, and most importantly, how to stay safe in one of the most dangerous jobs in America. Alligator hunting kills and injures hunters every single year. But Troy's boys were ready because their father had prepared them for every possible risk. In 2010, everything changed when the History Channel discovered Troy Landry. On August 22nd of that year, a new show called Swamp People aired for the first time. Viewers were immediately hooked by this real man, living a real life in the Louisiana swamps. Troy wasn't acting or putting on a show. He was just being himself, and that authenticity made him an instant star. The first episode drew over 3 million viewers. By the second season, that number had grown to nearly 4 million for the premiere alone. The Season 2 finale broke records with 5.5 million viewers, making it the most watched episode in the History Channel's history at that time. Troy's life and work fascinated people who had never seen anything like the world he lived in. And then there was his famous catchphrase. "Chum" became a household phrase across America. Troy would yell it to his sons and crew when it was time to take the shot at a gator. Fans loved it so much that it appeared on t-shirts, hats, coffee mugs, and even cell phone ringtones. Troy was smart enough to trademark the phrase and protect it legally because he knew it wasn't just a catchphrase. It was part of who he was as a person. Troy's nickname, the King of the Swamp, came from his fellow hunters long before TV cameras ever showed up. He earned that title by catching 82 alligators in a single day, a record that amazed even the most experienced gator hunters in Louisiana. That incredible achievement showed not just his skill, but his deep connection to the land and his incredible work ethic. The success of Swamp People opened up many new opportunities for Troy. In 2015, Savage Arms created the Landry Signature Series, a collection of rifles designed specifically for gator hunting. Troy worked with his sons Jacob and Chase to design these weapons, which featured alligator scale camouflage and Troy's signature. These weren't just collector's items. They were serious hunting tools built to handle the harsh conditions of the Louisiana swamps. Troy's larger-than-life personality led to even more TV shows. In 2016, Swamp People, Blood and Guts gave viewers an even deeper look into the dangerous world of alligator hunting. Then in 2018, Swamp Mysteries with Troy Landry showed a different side of him as he traveled across the southern United States to face scary creatures like giant gators, man-sized garfish, feral hogs, and even bull sharks. By 2018, Troy's net worth had passed $2 million. He was earning between $10,000 and $30,000 for each episode of Swamp People. But Troy didn't just rely on TV money. He built a business empire that included branded merchandise, a production company, his gas station, a seafood restaurant, and his crawfish business. He also offered guided swamp tours for tourists who wanted to experience the Cajun lifestyle up close. Troy even became the star of his own mobile video game called Chut Em Angry Swamp, Players could step into Troy's boots and try to tag gators in a virtual Louisiana bayou. The game included Troy's actual voice and his famous catchphrases, bringing the excitement of the swamp to people all over the world. In 2021, Troy received one of his proudest honors when he was named Louisianian of the Year in the celebrity category. This award wasn't just about his TV success. It celebrated Troy as a true symbol of Cajun culture and strength. Despite all his fame and fortune, he still lived in Pierre Park, still worked with his family, and still taught young people the traditional ways of the bayou. But just when everything seemed perfect, Troy's world began to fall apart. In 2021, Troy faced a kind of heartbreak that no amount of strength or fame can protect you from. His beloved mother passed away after a long and painful illness. The woman who had been the anchor of the Landry family was gone, leaving a hole in their hearts that nothing could fill. Troy tried to stay strong and keep up his image as the fearless king of the swamp. But behind that tough exterior, he was just a son in mourning. Fans who had watched the Landry family for years poured out their love and support during this difficult time. The loss reminded everyone that even the strongest people can be brought to their knees by grief. Troy's mother had been there for every important moment in his life, from his first gator hunt to his wedding day to the birth of his children. Without her guidance and love, the family felt lost and adrift. Just as Troy was trying to heal from the loss of his mother, 2022 brought another devastating blow. This time, it was his own health that was in danger. In a shocking announcement that stunned his fans around the world, Troy revealed that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. He didn't try to sugarcoat the news or make it sound less serious than it was. In his own simple words, he told everyone that his prostate was ate up with cancer. At 61 years old, this news hit Troy and his family like a lightning bolt. The man who had seemed invincible while wrestling 12-foot alligators was now facing a battle that he couldn't win with strength or skill alone. But Troy's openness about his diagnosis inspired thousands of men to speak up about their own health concerns and get tested for prostate cancer. His courage in sharing his story probably saved lives. Troy didn't waste any time feeling sorry for himself. He scheduled surgery to have his prostate removed, knowing that this was his best chance to beat the cancer. On June 1st, 2022, he shared the results with his fans. The operation had been successful, but the truth was sobering. The cancer had completely taken over his prostate, which meant that waiting any longer could have been fatal. Recovery from this kind of surgery is never easy. The procedure is serious, the risks are real, and the healing process takes time. But Troy stayed true to his character, thanking his doctors and fans while keeping his eyes focused on getting back to the swamp for the next gator season. His honesty about the struggle helped people understand that cancer isn't just about the disease itself. It's about finding the courage to fight back, no matter how difficult the road might be. But as Troy was recovering from his cancer surgery, the family was hit with yet another crisis. In August 2022, false reports began spreading across the internet claiming that Troy had died at the age of 62. The rumors were so convincing and spread so quickly that fans around the world were heartbroken, believing that cancer had claimed their beloved king of the swamp. The death hoax became so widespread that Troy's son Jacob had to step in and post a video on social media to prove that his father was still alive and recovering well. Troy, never one to miss a chance to lighten the mood, joked about the situation to ease everyone's worry. But the experience showed how dangerous false information can be and how painful these kinds of rumors are for families who are already dealing with so much stress and uncertainty. Despite everything he'd been through, Troy's determination never wavered. All he wanted was to get back to doing what he loved most. Just weeks after his cancer surgery, he was out on his land spending time with his grandson and preparing for the upcoming hunting season. His return for season 14 of Swamp People proved that no illness could break his spirit or take away his love for the swamp. Then came a test that no parent or grandparent should ever have to face. On July 13th, 2024, the Landry family welcomed a new baby named Crew into the world. What should have been a joyful celebration quickly turned into every family's worst nightmare. After 8 hours of difficult labor, Crew's mother had to undergo an emergency C-section. When Crew was finally born, He was struggling to breathe and had to spend his first 24 hours in the intensive care unit, fighting for every breath. The family thought the worst was over when Cruz seemed to stabilize, but routine blood tests revealed another serious problem. The baby's blood showed dangerously high levels of something called direct bilirubin, which is a warning sign of liver problems. What followed was every parent's worst fear, as doctors ran test after test trying to figure out what was wrong. In the weeks that followed, Cruz's bilirubin levels kept climbing higher and higher. On August 23, 2024, doctor performed a painful test called a cholangiogram. The results shattered the family's world. Little Cruz had been diagnosed with biliary atresia, a rare and deadly liver disease that affects only about 1 in 20,000 babies born in the United States. Biliary atresia is a cruel disease that blocks the bile ducts in a baby's liver. Without treatment, it is always fatal. The doctors told the family that surgery was Cruz's only hope, but even that might not be enough to save his life. The Landry family's world turned completely upside down as they faced the terrifying possibility of losing their newborn grandson. The doctors performed something called the Kasai procedure, a complicated surgery that gave Cruz a slim chance at survival, but the odds were stacked against the tiny baby. This surgery usually works best when it's done before a baby is 8 weeks old, and Cruz was already past that critical point. Over the next 3 months, it became heartbreakingly clear that the surgery had failed. Cruz's liver continued to get worse and worse. On January 25, 2025, Lil Cruz was officially placed on the liver transplant list. His condition was measured using something called a PLD score, which started at 13, but quickly rose to 31. The higher the number, the sicker the patient. Every single day became a painful waiting game, hoping and praying that a donor liver would become available to save Cruz's life. The wait felt endless. In February 2025, hope flickered when a potential donor liver was found, but testing revealed that it wasn't a match for Cruz. The family's hearts were crushed once again. They had gotten their hopes up, only to have them dashed by circumstances completely beyond their control. But in June 2025, the call that the family had been praying for finally came. A matching liver had been found, and Cruz was rushed to Texas Children's Hospital for the transplant surgery. The operation was successful, but recovery was slow and filled with challenges. With every small step forward, though, the family felt hope returning to their lives. While the Landry family was dealing with these personal tragedies, another storm was brewing that would shake Troy's reputation to its core. In September 2024, an anonymous phone call to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries changed everything. The caller claimed that someone was illegally setting alligator lines on Lake Pallord in St. Mary Parish, an area where only the caller and his friend had permission to hunt. The tip was detailed and specific. The caller described strange lines marked with white flags that had appeared overnight in waters where they didn't belong. The Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries took the tip seriously and launched a full sting operation. This wasn't just a routine patrol. Agents planned every move carefully, knowing they might be dealing with an experienced hunter who knew how to bend the rules. On the morning of September 19, 2024, at exactly 6:30 a.m., 2 wildlife agents named Jake Darden and Harry Gaines took their positions in a hidden spot where they could watch the suspicious lines without being seen. The Louisiana heat and humidity made the long surveillance extremely uncomfortable, but the agents stayed focused on their job. Time dragged on slowly as the agents watched and waited. Then, after more than 6 hours of surveillance, at exactly 1:43 in the afternoon, they saw a boat approaching the flag lines. Inside the boat were 3 people: Troy Landry himself, a 28-year-old woman whose name was kept secret by authorities, and a cameraman who appeared to be filming for Swamp People. The agents watched closely as the drama unfolded. The woman in the boat lifted one of the lines and announced that the gator was a good one. Troy grabbed his spear, and together they killed the alligator and pulled it into their boat. That was exactly the moment the agents had been waiting for. They immediately moved in to confront Troy and his team. When the agents approached, Troy tried to explain that he had permission to hunt in that area. In a way, he was telling the truth, but when the agents examined his hunting tags, things didn't add up properly. In Louisiana, hunters must use tags that are specifically designated for the exact area where they're hunting. Troy claimed that someone had given him the tags for this particular trip, but that explanation didn't matter under the law. The agents issued Troy 2 separate citations. The first was for improperly tagging the alligator they had just caught. The second was for failing to tag it at all, which he should have done immediately upon killing it. Each charge carried a potential penalty of up to $950 in fines and 120 days in jail. At first, Troy insisted that he was innocent and had done nothing wrong. But when the agents told him they had been watching the entire incident unfold, he finally admitted what he had done. For fans who had seen Troy as the ultimate example of responsible hunting, this admission was shocking and heartbreaking, but the surprises weren't over yet. When the agents pressed Troy for more details, he made an even more damaging confession. He admitted that before they had reached his boat, he had already cut loose another dead alligator from one of his lines and let it float away in the water. This wasn't just a technical violation of hunting regulations. It was seen as an act of waste and complete disrespect for the wildlife he was supposed to protect and conserve. The agents later found the abandoned alligator, still tied to a line exactly like the others Troy had been using. Louisiana law requires that every alligator must be tagged immediately after it's killed. Letting one float away untagged is not only illegal, but also harmful to the careful environmental balance that hunting regulations are designed to protect. The man who had taught millions of viewers about responsible hunting and respect for nature was now at the center of a case that showed exactly the opposite behavior. The agents didn't stop with just writing citations. They also seized Troy's boat and engine, which is a serious action usually reserved for the most severe violations or repeat offenders. The sight of Troy's famous boat being hauled away by wildlife officials was devastating for his fans. This was the same boat that had been featured in countless episodes of Swamp People, the vessel that had carried the king of the swamp to his greatest hunting victories. Now it was being confiscated as evidence in a criminal case. The whole incident raised difficult questions about reality television and the pressure to create dramatic content. Did the push for exciting footage make even experienced hunters like Troy take risks they wouldn't normally take? Was what viewers saw on Swamp People really authentic? Or was it a carefully crafted performance that sometimes crossed legal lines? But Troy's story didn't end with legal troubles. In 2025, during filming for his show Swamp Mysteries, Troy and his partner Cheyenne Picklesheimer made a discovery that no one could have imagined. They were exploring a remote area of the Louisiana bayou, looking for traces of a lost Native American civilization, when they found something extraordinary. Hidden just 3 inches below the muddy ground, they discovered human bones. There was a jawbone with white teeth still intact, pieces of the skull, a shoulder blade, and parts of a leg bone. Even the archaeologist who was working with them couldn't believe what they had found. The swamp's acidic soil usually destroys organic material, like bones, very quickly, so finding remains in such good condition was extremely rare. Initial testing suggested that the bones could be thousands of years old, potentially rewriting the history of human settlement in Louisiana. The discovery left Troy visibly shaken and changed how the entire film crew saw the swamp. This wasn't just hunting grounds or entertainment location anymore. It was a sacred burial ground that deserved respect and careful study. Despite all the legal troubles and personal tragedies, Troy hasn't disappeared from television. When Swamp People Season 16 launched in January 2025, there he was again, ready for another gator season. This time he had 800 alligator tags and 2 new boats to replace the one that had been confiscated. His natural charm and undeniable skill kept him at the top of the show's cast. The History Channel seemed to treat Troy's legal violations as a minor bump in the road rather than a serious problem. Fans kept watching, and Troy's ratings remained strong. Working alongside him was his partner Cheyenne Picklesheimer, and the two had developed into a powerful hunting team. Their bond was strong both on camera and off, and they took on bigger risks while hunting in new areas and working together to help their local community. Their partnership kept viewers engaged and entertained, and their obvious respect for the bayou environment helped maintain the heart and soul of what made Swamp People special in the first place. Despite everything that had happened, Troy's love for the swamp and his dedication to the traditional Cajun way of life never wavered. The story of Troy Landry's recent struggles is ultimately a story about human resilience in the face of overwhelming challenges. This is a man who has faced the loss of his beloved mother, a life-threatening cancer diagnosis, legal troubles that threaten his reputation, and the near loss of his infant grandson. Any one of these trials would be enough to break most people. But Troy has continued to fight through each obstacle with the same determination that made him the king of the swamp. Troy's journey reminds us that even our heroes are human. They face the same fears, heartbreaks, and challenges that we all do. The difference is how they choose to respond when life knocks them down. Troy Landry has shown us that true strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up every single time, no matter how hard the fall might be. As we've seen throughout his story, Troy's greatest strength has always been his family and his connection to the Louisiana bayou that shaped him. These roots have sustained him through his darkest hours and will continue to guide him as he faces whatever challenges lie ahead. The king of the swamp may have been knocked down, but he's far from defeated. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, please hit that like button and share this video with your friends and family. Troy Landry's journey is one that deserves to be heard, and your support helps us continue telling the stories that matter most. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest content. Until next time, remember that life's greatest victories often come after our most difficult defeats.